Good evening. This is Joe, your financial coach, and I am coming today to talk to you about what you don't know and what you need to know about your term. That's right, your term. Many of us don't want to have this conversation. I'm going to be quite frank and I'm going to be direct because I'm your coach. And guess what? I'm going to tell you the truth, and it's going to sting a little bit, and it might not sting a little bit, but guess what? You're going to know the truth. And you know what? Knowledge is power. And I'm going to tell you exactly about your term. Okay? Here's the deal. Many of us subscribe, and Dave Ramsey instructor. I have instructed Dave Ramsey courses, and many of us subscribe to, and I'm going to name some. I'm going to name some companies. The Primerica thought process, where we buy term and invest the difference. We talk about term where insurance. Some people think that insurance is a waste of money. You buy a term to insure, but let me tell you what term is used for. First and foremost, there are three major kinds of insurance, and I'm going to talk about all three individually. There's term, there's a universal life, and there's also whole life. And there's a couple of others, graded, and which I will talk about in another one. And there's actual business, commercial, key person, that type of thing. But we're going to talk about term in this one. And the reason why we're going to talk about term is there's some misconceptions about term, and there's some misconceptions about insurance in general. Now, when you talk to people that are in personal insurance, oftentimes they will actually sit on one side or the other. They'll say term is great, term is garbage. Let me explain something about insurance. All insurance is good. All insurance is good. Okay? The problem is all insurance is not good for everybody at different stages of your life. And let me explain to you this way. Guess what? Pull-ups are great for toddlers. They're the most magnificent thing ever. But a 30-year-old man with pull-ups is a problem unless he has an incontinence issue. That happens to some people. But that indicates there's a problem, and it's actually not common. It is not the norm. So what I'm telling you is this. Term insurance is the same way. It is great for a stage of your life. It does not make sense for everybody. So I encourage you, if you are an insurance broker, if you're an insurance agent, do your clients a favor and quit telling them that term is great for everybody or it's garbage for everybody. I don't subscribe to that. I know Dave Ramsey teaches buy term, invest the difference. That's what everybody should do. That is not the best plan for everybody. For everybody. You can't put that across the board. Because let's just have a real conversation. Let's talk about the definition of term. Term insurance is real simple. You actually pay a lower premium, a very discounted premium, and you can get insured for an amount of a death benefit for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And after that 30 years, depending on the type of term you have, after that 30 years, you have to re-up for insurance. That's what a term policy is. That makes sense for some people. It doesn't make sense for other people. Okay? There are several different kinds of terms. There is a straight term, which means you pay a premium, you get a death benefit, and because term is cheaper, and there are some terms that actually have they have a physical examination, but most terms are simplified issue. That means you don't have to do blood or urine. You just write the application, and you take the application with that company, you pay your premiums, and you're insured for that amount. They take down some information, and they give you to invest the difference. And there also is term with the ROP. ROP means return of premium. There are term policies that are a little bit more expensive than straight term. But at the end of your 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, all of your premiums, you get them back in one check. And because it was paid for life insurance, you do not have to pay income tax on that. Okay? That's because you would be double taxed if you did. Because you're already taxed on the income. When you get that check back, you can't be taxed again on it. So it is tax-free when you get it returned. Now, let me explain this part. Term insurance works great, and I say this, term insurance works great for people that are between the ages of 20 to 45 years old. Okay, it works great, and let me tell you why. It is a great idea to have term insurance because think about this. When you're 20, 30 years old, you have a new family. Let's say you're married. You're married. You have a relatively new family. You've been married less than 20 years. If you're in a home, you have a relatively new home. You have paid for less than half of the mortgage. So you have, if you have kids, you have college to think about, you have sports camps to think about, you have all of these things that need to be paid. So if by some reason you were to vanish as the sole breadwinner, all of those things need to be paid. You need life insurance, not death insurance. Death insurance is to take care of putting you in the ground. But the problem is that your family is still here and they need to maintain the same level of life, the same standard of living. So with that being said, you need to insure not your life, but you need to insure your family's standard of living at that age. Because one, you actually have more in front of you than you have behind you. And two, and three, you have more things that you have to pay for than things you have paid for. So with that being said, you need to ensure that the car is paid off, that the house is paid off, that the cars are paid off, that there's money for college. You need to ensure your income earning potential. You're not insuring your life with term, you're insuring your income earning potential. Now, let's have a real face-to-face, heart-to-heart conversation with your coach here. Let's be real, people. You buy Prime America insurance or you buy some type of term insurance with no return of premium. And they tell you, you know what, this is cheaper, so you can take the money that you would spend on insurance and invest it into a mutual fund. Let's be real. Most of you, the studies say that 89% of people that buy term expecting to invest the difference, 89% of you never invest squat. You don't invest it, you spend it. And you end up with no money because the whole plan to invest, to buy term and invest the difference, the plan is after the 30 years, you have enough investments to what we call self-insure. At that end of 30 years, if you're 25 years old, 30 years after 25, you're 55. At that point, guess what? Your mortgage is paid for. Your kids are already out of school and they're grown and gone. Your cars are paid for. You don't have a car payment. And you have more assets than you have liability. So at that point, you don't need to insure your life. You don't need to insure your lifestyle because your lifestyle is paid for. Should be if you're smart. And if you have somebody like me, a financial advisor, or you have somebody like me, a financial planner, somebody that can help you spend your money wisely and actually invest and leverage your money instead of spending it on trivial things, you can self-insure. At that point, you have enough cash to have death insurance. That means you no longer need life insurance to insure your lifestyle. You need just enough money to put you in the ground. That's what you need, death insurance. Now, that's how it's supposed to work. 89 studies show that 89% of you do not do that. So let's just be real. If you don't save money in your savings account, if your checking account is always negative, if you're always struggling to make ends meet, guess what? You're not going to save the difference. Let's just be real. So what you need to do is you're not a person that needs term. And let me tell you why. Because if you're not going to have a term And if you're not going to buy term and literally, systematically, and consistently invest the difference to be able to self-insure at the end of your term, what will happen is at 55, you're older, you're sicker, you're taking medication, and you very well may not qualify for another term because there are health questions. You just don't have to do what's called a paramed, which is blood and urine testing. And they won't pull your medical records. They'll pull your scripts. You may not qualify for a term. So at that point, now you have to buy whole life insurance. And it's so much more expensive at 55 than it is at 25. At 25, you can buy whole life insurance and you can buy it for pennies on a dollar. You can buy death insurance, quote unquote, death insurance at 25 for $30, and that'll put you in the ground. At 55, that same amount of death insurance will cost you well upwards to $60, $70, $80, $90 at 55. So the point is, buy term if you're going to use it properly. Or the other option is, if you are not, and you have to be really real with yourself, and this was what frustrates me more than anything, is people cheat themselves. You're not cheating the agent. You're not cheating the company. You're not hustling the system, because you're going to be old, sickly, can't qualify for insurance, and be broke. So if you know you don't save money, if you know you are horribly disciplined, if you know that you struggle, then buy a term with the ROP. I know people say often that a ROP does not make sense. Yes, you're paying an extra amount of money and you don't need all of these riders, but here's the point. 72% of seniors are going to have an accident and end up in a long-term care facility at some point in time. If you don't have the capital to pay for that, then guess what? You're going to have to go through the Medicaid spend down and actually spend down all of your assets. You're going to have to spend down everything you have to qualify to actually pay for that. And what did you work 40 years for if you got to give it all away? That's pointless. That's why term does not make sense for people who have no financial discipline. And let's not lie to each other and say, oh, well, I'm going to buy term and develop some financial discipline. You're not. Unless you hire someone like me who is a consultant that will actually take charge of that. Most of you won't do that. So I'm telling you, you need to buy term with the ROP. Term is great. If you're 25 to 45, at the end of your 30 years, you get a check back. That will be enough to put you in the ground. Take that, put that. You can do a whole lot of things, and you can get it in $1 bills and put it in the safety deposit box. I don't encourage people to do that because if you don't have any financial discipline, you won't leave it there. Do not leave it in whatever you do. Don't leave it in your checking account. But you can take that, you can put that into, you can actually take that and you can put that into an investment vehicle. I would suggest that you don't put it in a mutual fund because that's risking that you may lose money. I would suggest you don't put it into the stock market. You don't need to lose it because you don't have any more years to recover it. That makes no sense at 55. You don't have the income earning years. So you don't need to risk losing it. You need to put it in something. Yes, it won't yield you the 13% that a mutual fund will yield you at some point in time unless the stock market crashes like it does every 8 years. Oh yes, it's going up now. People, it's going to crash. And you don't know when. So why would you put your money in it when you can't predict when it's going to crash? Because that's not what you do for a living. Put it in somewhere safe. Yeah, you won't get 13%. You may only get 4% or 5%, but you won't lose a dime. And your family will not have to open a GoFundMe just to put you in the ground. Do a term with a ROP. Now, if you're over the age of 45 or 50, and you are not making over $100,000 a year, you have no business buying a term. Zero business buying a term. It is not a plan for you. If you're not making over $100,000, term makes no sense for you at that age at all. And anybody who tells you that it does is lying to you and ripping you off. What you need to do, because even if at 55 you buy a 30-year term, you're going to be at 55, you'll be 85 when it expires, and you cannot get any insurance whatsoever after the age of 35, at the age of 85. That makes no sense. So term in short, at age 55, you need to be buying yourself either a term with the ROP, which is if it's at the point that you cannot afford a small whole life policy, then get you a term. Here's the other point that I want to put in there. People often say, oh, I don't need all of these extra riders. Those are the people that are going to end up losing all of their wealth because of the fact that they are going to end up breaking a hip, having to go in rehabilitative care, and they don't have the cash to pay for it. If you can pay for your own health care out of your bank account, out of your own pocket, then yes, Dave Ramsey has done it. That's what he does. He doesn't pay for health care. He literally pays for all of his health care out of his pocket. Yes, if you do that, that makes sense. But most of America is not disciplined enough to do that. And I want to tell you guys, it's like buying a 1982 hoopty, putting a fresh coat of paint on it, some rims, and a booming system in it. It's still a hunk of junk. It is not a classic because of the fact that you put a fresh coat of paint on it. Listen to me carefully. Do not do that. He's done the hard work. He has invested consistently. He has mutual funds that yield him large sums of money. He also has investments that yield him large sums of money. In addition to that, he has books. He has his own business that does that. If you're going to do that, yes, by all means, I encourage you. If you're Joe Schmo and you're working at Joe Schmo Auto Parts and you think you're going to buy a term and you're going to stack away enough money to take care of your own long-term care when you get old, it's not happening, buddy. And you need not a death insurance policy, because that puts you in the ground. You need a life insurance policy that has a rider. I just sat down with a lady today that she's just 55 years old. She bought a whole life policy when her mom bought it when she was 19. It cost her $20 a month. She took it over when her mother passed. She's been paying $20 a month. It's only for $25,000, but guess what? Didn't take any loans out on it, nothing. You never take a loan out on your policy. I'm going to tell you that first and foremost. But it was a whole life policy. She became disabled at 53. She has a disability waiver on her policy. She never has to pay for another premium ever, and she will have life insurance for the rest of her life, and it will continue actually accruing interest. This is the reason why those riders are important. A terminal illness rider, 24 months. And then the doctor says you're going to pass away in 24 months. You actually get that. You get your money ahead of time. But the two that are most important is the disability rider and also the nursing home and chronic illness rider. Because most of us do not have the money to pay for the nursing. Do you know how much nursing homes cost? You don't have enough money to pay cash for the car that you want, much less a nursing home bill. That's $50,000, $60,000 a year. Really? You don't have it. So why would you not pay a couple of extra dollars a month so that something else will pay for that? That makes sense. Now, granted, in most companies, a term product does not come with those riders. There are some that do, but very few. But I suggest, and this is what I suggest to my clients that are 20 to 45, buy a $250,000 policy. You and your wife buy $250,000 term policy each. Pay the extra $3 to $4 for ROP, for the return of premium. At the end of 30 years, you get your money back. And then buy a small death insurance policy. A small one. You're young, the cost of insurance is low. That's never going to change. You can get a death insurance policy that at 25 years old, that will cost you less than $30 a month. If that, and I'm being generous. Probably can get one for about $25. I think today I uh, wrote a policy for a 36-year-old smoking male. He was smoking, and it was a $50,000 policy, and that was $70. That was 36 years old. It was $70. If I back that down to 25,000, which is all he needed, his mom wanted this $50,000 because he's living a pretty kind of reckless life. So she didn't know what was going to happen when he passed, and she's taking care of it. That's what she wanted. So you can get at 25 years old, that policy, that same policy would probably cost around $30. Get a small death insurance policy and get a large term policy if your age is 20 to 45. Get one with the ROP. If you don't have the 6 months worth of salary in your savings account, you need to get one with the ROP, a return of premium. If you have that, if you've done it the Dave Ramsey style and you literally are investing, be honest with yourself. If you're investing in mutual funds consistently, I'm not saying your 401k, that doesn't count. That's going to go to crap by the end of the year again. And 8 years from now, it's going to go to crap again. So don't count on your 401k because that is not retirement. It is not. Okay? So let that go. That will not save you. You will not put enough money away in your 401k to actually sustain your lifestyle when you're old. Let go of that farce. We've been teaching that so companies can actually rip us off, but that is not going to do it. There are better plans out there, and guess what? Your bosses and your CEOs and your C-level executives, they have them and they're using them, and they're not talking to you about them. They're not talking to you about them because guess what? You don't spend time at the water cooler together. But you need to talk to someone like me or does something like me so that they can help you out with that. But term, if you're 20 to 45, you need a term that's $250,000. If you can't save money to save your life, you need it with a return of premium. If you're actually investing in a mutual fund, you can do a flat one that does not have a return of premium and has no riders. But you also need a small whole life policy as well to actually take care of putting you in the ground. You need that. Both of those. The reason why you need the small one, let me explain that. The small death insurance policy is because when you get a whole life policy, the premium never goes up and the benefit never goes down. And when you're 65 and you're sickly and you can't get any kind of life insurance at a decent price, you still have a whole life policy that you're paying for that was given to you like you're 25 years old. So you're paying a 25-year-old's price for that policy. And if you do what I tell you to do and never take a loan out on the policy, it will have some cash value in it. Depending on the company that you're with, you will get the death benefit and the cash value just depending on the company and how it's written up. If you have questions about this, I'll be more than happy to answer them. You have my contact information. I love you guys. Make sound decisions. Make your money work harder for you. You went to work today, and if you go to work tomorrow, don't leave your money in the bank unemployed. Give it a job. Make it go make money, babies. That's what it does. It's about leveraging your money, not spending it. Go have a fantastic day. And again, I'm GP. I'm Gerald A. Pimpleton, your financial coach, and we are going to make your money get down and work for you. Have a fantastic day.